Does Tai Tuivasa beat Ciryl Gane? No. But he's got a shot, just like anybody. And I believe there's an inefficiency in the odds makers in this fight where they have him as quite more of an underdog than I believe he actually is. Make it clear that I do believe he is a significant underdog, just not as significant as they have. Now, I'm just going to do a very brief overview of what his strategy should be in this fight, the way that Tai could win. Now, he's going to have to kick the mobility out from under Gane because he's very light on his feet. So he's going to have to throw a lot of leg kicks, especially to the lead leg. He's going to have a hard time getting to the back leg just based on how agile and quick that Gane is at moving. So that's number one. Number two, he's going to have to use these big overhands that he throws, kind of covering a lot of distance like a Butterbean would do or Roy Nelson, because there's such a threat that Gane can't just shell up or rely just on head movement like this. He's going to have to move back because, first of all, these shots come at odd angles so they can slip through a guard, and you don't want to block it with just a guard because they're so powerful that you can still take significant damage or even get knocked out. So that's going to be his path to cover distance because, of course, Gane's footwork is going to be much better and he's much quicker. He's going to have to get in the clinch and make it very ugly. Now, Gane doesn't have a significantly bad clinch. He's probably got about an average clinch for MMA, right? It's good in kind of like a Thai boxing, kickboxing sense, but of course there's other considerations when you also have to deal with takedowns. And his problem is he's not dirty enough. Tai Tuivasa's clinch, it's very dirty. He does a lot of leaning on you. He short, ugly shots, lots of elbows, things like this. And he can conserve a lot of energy by doing this and still win the fight. Just do enough to not get separated, especially if it's against the cage. He leans his weight on you. He tires you out, but he's not getting that tired. So the fact that it's a 5-round fight and you might think he'd gas out, well, not necessarily. And he uses this strategy in this fight against Derek Lewis. So that's kind of why I'm playing this, because of the way that this fight ends and some of the strategies he uses in here. So there's that. He also is going to have to use his wrestling. He could take him down. The other consideration is that Tai Tuivasa has a very good chin, so he's not going to get rocked easily. So he's going to have more opportunities to land that one Hail Mary shot, especially as it goes further in the fight and both fighters get tired. And, of course, if Gane's mobility is being kicked out from under him so he can't move as well, then Tai's going to have a better chance landing this shot that comes in from distance. Because he can't cover distance quickly with footwork the way that Gane can, but he can with these overhands. So those are always going to be a liability. The more time he has in the fight, the more time he has to land one of those big shots. The last consideration that I think is major enough to suggest is that there's no way that Tai is not going to land any strikes, because he'd have to get knocked out quite early, which is unlikely because he's got a good chin, right? And just based on Gane's game plan, he likes to feel things out a lot, get into someone's rhythm and their timing and things like this. Now, if Gane does get rocked and he does what Lewis does at the end of this fight here, where he takes a big shot right here, and instead of recovering where he could, right now he should be exiting out and taking some time, he keeps trading, that's how he could get knocked out, because Tai's chin is almost certainly better than Gane's. Even if he's taking more damage than Gane, it's just, he's Samoan, he's got bone density to rival people like Justin Gaethje. He's just a very dense, big guy, and he's got a good chin. I've seen him take very hard shots. He took a head kick from JDS, and he was totally fine. Didn't even look like he took anything. So if Gane happens to get hit enough to rock him, and he either lets his ego get to him or he's too stunned to get out of pocket, that's another way that he could lose. So Tai has some ways to win. So let's just take a look at the betting line for a second. We've got Ciryl Gane at a negative 575 favorite, which means that you'd have to bet $575 to profit $100. They give you your $575 wager back plus $100 profit. For Tai Tuivasa, they have him as a plus 425 underdog, which means if you bet $100, you will win $425. You'll get your $100 wager back and $325 profit. So obviously they have him as a considerable underdog. You'd have to believe that Ciryl Gane wins almost always if you could repeat this fight in a vacuum, an infinite iteration of times, which is how professional gamblers and statisticians, and mathematicians, that's how they think about odds and structure their bets to win effectively, right? It's called an expected value equation, but that's another story. So because they're giving this massive discrepancy, one of the reasons why this number is not the same as this, like this is not negative 425, is that the odds makers might not be very confident in the fact that they can come up with an actual estimation, so they give themselves a bigger margin of safety. Another consideration would be if all the player pool, all the bettors are betting on one fighter, like 99% are betting on Gane. Well, they have to de-incentivize that disproportionate betting a little bit by giving worse odds for Gane, because if 99% bet on Gane and he wins, of course they lose all their bets, right? They are gonna go bankrupt, so they're lowering their risk of ruin, right? As a betting site, because they can take in a lot of bets, and if these smaller ones can't handle the volume, it can be a problem. They can go bankrupt, right? Now, oh, and just one more thing. Just if they give you plus 425, they really believe the fight is more like plus 475, right? They always give you odds a little bit worse because they want to make money anywhere they can. So just consider that. But obviously, we're seeing that this is a massive underdog. And at heavyweight, it's hard to really give anyone that big of an edge, right? We can't give Gane this big of an edge because there's just so much chaos and anyone can knock out anyone. Usually, when they give odds this skewed in one person's favor versus another, they believe that that fighter has no appreciable way of winning. There's no marketable strategy that can lead them to victory. And we've discussed why this clearly isn't the case. So in this case, it might be a profitable bet to bet on Tai. Now, I'm not going to tell you to do that. I can't advise you to do that. It would be illegal and immoral, especially if you don't understand advanced betting strategies and how to structure your bets and bankroll management and all this stuff. But just for entertainment purposes, this is a very, very brief and cursory breakdown of the odds and why I believe that there's an inefficiency in the odds makers here and why it might be profitable to bet. But you shouldn't unless you want to and you understand and you've come to this on your own. It can't be because of me.